Alright, I'm going to heat up the garage. It's the dead of winter. Getting ready to inspect the brakes. I'm going to be doing hopefully just cosmetic cleanup. Going to do an inspection, take the pads out, clean everything up, put it back together. On this Toyota Avalon. This is a 2007 Toyota Avalon. According to Toyota, the 2007 to 2017 Toyota Camry, Avalon, and Lexus ES350 are the same. However, there are some differences beginning in 2012, especially with the Lexus, the ES350. There's going to be some differences. I saw different torque values. I don't know if the bolts are different sizes or whatnot, but anyway, I'm just going to talk about this car and concentrate on this car and look things over. So I have the jack set. I'm not using my quick jacks. I'm not going to use a ramp and then jack. It's a little bit tricky to jack up this car. So we're going to begin by popping the hood actually. Okay, I rolled down the window, I set the parking brake, and I popped the hood. The lights are still on temporarily. We'll open it up and inspect the master cylinder. Okay, let's look at the master cylinder. First, it's at the maximum line. That's good. That means that the pads should not have been worn down. If you take your car to like Jiffy Lube or someplace like that, one of the quick places, don't let them add brake fluid, because that's a false indicator. You'll see your fluid level is up and your brakes are worn. So this is a good indicator if your pads have worn down. So if it's at max, you know your pads are in pretty good shape. And again, I'm doing kind of a cosmetic thing on this car more than an actual pad change, but we're going to do a disassembly and reassembly. The other thing, this is a 2007. So I'm going to check the fluid. Okay, I have my fluid checker. You can get these for 10 or 15 bucks. I highly recommend it. They're cheap little things. You can pay 40, 50, 60 bucks and get a professional one if you want. So you check the battery, pull it out, stick it in, push it, and we're still green when it's submerged. And then you can always test it by putting it in some water, and you should see it really just go absolutely snaky. You see a lot of yellow and red. Alright, with that done, I store it without the battery in it because, you know, I only use it, what, once a year, once every 2 or 3 years. You know, I'm not going through brakes. I'm not inspecting my brake system all the time. Alright, next is just a general inspection of the entire area. Make sure your cap is okay, it's not dry rotted, leaking, busted, whatever. Put that back on. Toyota, it just kind of pops on there. Also, you want to read, it's difficult to read black on black, but what you'll find out is it tells you use only .3 fluid in this case. Okay, here is your ABS system right here. Anti-lock brake system. Just, you know, no leaks. Nice and clean. Don't want anything bent, damaged, or whatever. Just general visual inspection. Make sure there's no liquid, dirt, garbage, anything else around there. Make sure everything's in good shape. You're just doing a visual inspection. You're not going to be repairing anything if you find something. I can tell you that right now. The codes run from 11 to 93. There's some sections that are missing. I think there's only like a code 51, which is the motor. That's the only 50 codes. And then there's some other missing ones like the 70s. There may be 1 or 2 70s, but you need more than an OBD2 reader to read those codes. You would need a scan tool that would be able to read the ABS system. So if you need to do that, just be careful when buying a code reader. Alright, you can see the calipers on the front. This is the right side, so you might want to turn the wheel to the right to bring the caliper out so you can work on it more easily. I'm going to take the lug nuts off first, then finish jacking it up, put a stand underneath there, and then I'll turn the wheel. Alright, I used to work in industry. We used to have to dress out in protective clothing. We always put on cotton gloves before we put on our nitrile gloves. Even vinyl even back then, but that was a million years ago. Anyway, that's the reason for that is when the gloves become contaminated or really dirty, you can still take them off and protect your hands from whatever hazardous material you were working with. Alright, that's gloves, so we're about ready to take off the lug nuts, and I'm going to use a 21 millimeter. Okay. Boy, I'm having so much fun already. Let me get my magnet and wheel off. Now, I want to inspect the wheel, make sure there's no unusual tread wear, maybe clean the inside, especially if you had a problem like a busted boot or something. If you want to clean all this up, inspect it, make sure nothing bad is going on there. Again, if we're working on the right side, if you turn the wheel to the right, that'll give you better access to the caliper assembly. Alright, don't forget to chalk your tires and put in your jack stand. Alright, let's get in there. Your flexible hose, you want to make sure that there's no cracks, bends, you want to make sure there's no liquid, make sure it's all dry. You can inspect your pads, but you've already decided to replace them. So we'll be doing that. You're also going to inspect your rotor. Want to make sure that's okay. Check the lip on there. Also, you want to use a micrometer as opposed to dial calipers. Most people don't have a micrometer, but anyway, you definitely want to check your rotor. We'll do that when we pull off the caliper and caliper mounting bracket. So just generally inspect the area, inspect your strut. Make sure your strut's okay. You don't see anything leaking. I see something here. I don't know what that is. I'll look around, make sure it's nothing bad. Inspect the wheel well. Make sure there's no grease flung all over the place from your CV axle, because you'll be inspecting your CV axle too. It's right there. So it's, you know, it's more than a brake job. It's a visual inspection of everything. Look around. Make sure you don't need motor mounts or something. That's a pain in the butt job. You can look at your belt. You can see the belt down here. Make sure that's not too bad. You can see that from the top also. A little bit, not too easily. So anyway, just take a look around. Okay, looks like the caliper mounting bracket bolts are going to be 14 millimeter, and the caliper bracket bolts are going to be 17 millimeter. So we'll take these out and hang the caliper. Going to want a bungee cord or a caliper hanger, something. Alright, let's see if we can get these out of here. I can keep my hand out of the way. That came out pretty easy. Alright. You want to inspect your bolts, make sure they're not corroded. If you get new ones in your kit, with the pads or anything, replace them. I don't even see any thread lock on these. Alright, well, that's fine, whatever. Now, a cool trick. Now I have these compression tools for the piston, compress the piston, and you know, it works for all kinds of different systems, especially weird ones where you have pistons on both sides. Like if you have a 4-piston arrangement, 2 on one side and 2 on another, like in Mercedes or something, you know, this really comes in handy. But what the Toyota manual tells you to do is to compress it with the caliper still mounted. And it works great. I learned this on the back, and I was very surprised because I stopped using a C-clamp years ago. I was lucky I even found this. So back on the vertical mill actually. Anyway, so let's get it compressed. So it looks like you're going to need a 6-inch clamp at a minimum, maybe even larger. So anyway, you want to clamp it on there. And then compress the piston by tightening it down this way. Well, it's going down quite a bit more than I thought it was. It's another reason you don't top off your reservoir up in the engine compartment, because that fluid's got to go somewhere. And off it comes, easy peasy, and it's compressed. And it looks to be in pretty good shape. Usually these things are like rusted like crazy. Well, anyway, next, you want to hang it with your bungee cord or your hanger. Since I have a hanger, I'm going to use that. Get it out of the way. Next is our pads. And with Toyota, it's really interesting. Well, they do have quite a bit of wear on them. I'm glad I'm inspecting them. Huh, I'll be darned. Well, with Toyota, you want to keep everything. You want to keep these anti-rattle plates and the wear indicators. You'll see, even if you buy genuine Toyota, you'll see how they come. And what you want to do is look at them and make sure that you get the correct ones. Notice how this has 3 indicators on them. I call them lightning holes from my shipyard days. And then it says Toyota. It should have a part number on there. So you want to make sure that you replace it with the correct part number. Wow, I really thought I was going to do just a cleanup, but these pads are worn. So I'm going to have to replace them. Wow, how about that? Boy, I am so glad I looked them over. You know, the car only has 25,000 miles on it, and it's a 2007. So, you know, but still, it's all city miles, so you're on the brakes quite a bit. And your front brakes are all your stopping power. All right, let's get this bracket off of here. Can I get in there? I guess the answer is yes. All right, got my bracket off. So we're going to be, since we're replacing the pads, we're going to be putting new shims on there. Alright, inspect our bolts, make sure they're okay. What's going on with the rotor? Seems to be stuck on there. I don't want to beat it off because I want to reuse it. Let me get my gauges. Alright, let me see if I can get this off there. I don't want to damage it. The thickness is going to be on the disc here, and I don't see it, so I'm going to have to take it off, get it on the bench, see what it says. Well, that's clearly not working. I mean, 15 years sitting on the hub. I think the disc and the hub are one. So I'm taking my M8 by 125 bolts. These are kind of short. I have longer ones, but I'm just going to use these short ones here. And I guess I'll just bust it loose here a little bit. Let me just take my setting down to 1, make sure I don't do any damage. I won't damage it by going in the wrong direction, I can tell you that. Yes, I cut the camera off till I got it started. I don't know how long this is going to be. There we go. I had a setting of 1 also. Alright. Let's see what it says in here. It says 2.6 millimeters minimum, and I've got 26 millimeters minimum, and I've got 27.8 millimeters. So we're still good on that. The lip isn't bad. Just have some rust. I'm going to clean it up. See, is how I have to order pads. Okay, I'm measuring 5 millimeters on pad thickness, which is 3/16 American. So I need to look at what the minimum says. It's I could go a little bit more. It might pass inspection. Depends on the inspector. But anyway, let's see what the minimum is. All right, the minimum is 1/8 of an inch. So 1/8 of an inch is 1.25, I believe. 1.28 is what this is saying. 1/8. 3.125 millimeters. So, you know, if inspector calls it bad, you're not going to argue with him, or you're not going to win the argument with him. Let me put it to you that way. So, well, what a surprise. Here, let me show you the mileage on the car. All right, we'll hear a bunch of ding, 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 or whatever. Let's see what pops up. It says trip. Oh, it's 28. So 28,500 miles on the odometer. And front pads are worn out. Of course, like I said, you know, city driving. And it is 15 years of city driving. So that, as they say, is that. Okay, this job's on hold for a few days. Ordered rotors and pads. And with shipping and everything else, it's under $280. So that, as they say, is that. And I'll be back in a couple days. Of course, as far as the video is concerned, we'll be back instantaneously. What I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to just do some cleanup, maybe hit some things with some spray paint, make it look pretty, inspect things, clean it up. There you go. Okay, while I'm waiting on parts, let's see. Took the driver's side off too, so we're looking at $280. So brake pads were $80. Rotors were $72 each. So, and then shipping was $54 each. I saw a website that had free shipping, but their parts prices were higher. And when you did the total, it was the same. Okay, remember what I said about not filling the reservoir? Well, it happened to me. You can see it's full all the way to the top. It leaked out the top. I noticed it dripping on the floor down there at the bottom. So someone had been adding brake fluid before I took over as lead tech on the maintenance of this vehicle. So I don't know where my father-in-law took it. Have the oil change, whether he went to the dealer or some other place. But clearly someone topped off the brake fluid, and it was not me, because I was very surprised at the pad wear, and when I compressed the piston on the driver's side here, it overflowed, so, which was my bad. I didn't think. So, now I know. Okay, that looks a little better. Cleaning up. And learning how to use the camera. So I sprayed it down with some alcohol, wiped it out, cleaned it up. I don't even think I'm going to hit it with spray paint. Alright. Okay, as I'm waiting for the pads and rotors to come in, I'm cleaning up everything, removing dust as it were. And I'd like to point out that just like the rear, the top and bottom slide bolts are different. The bottom one has the plastic ring on it, if you will, and the top one does not. It's solid. Also, for many years I did not lubricate these pins. However, Toyota does. As you can see, this is definitely factory. So I'm going to clean everything up, make sure it's all clean, and then apply new grease. Seeing as how this is 15 years old, even though it's sealed, looks to be in pretty good shape. Still going to clean it up. So just a FYI there, a little detail. Okay, well, I definitely would have needed brakes for inspection, state inspection coming up. It's actually, when's the sticker? Well, it's 7 months away from this video, but you can see this is a little shiny. What had happened is some material had come up and folded over, and I scraped it off to get an accurate measurement. And if you look, I know everything's black on black. You got metal lining, metal lining, metal lining. These three look pretty much identical, and they are basically they're like 3/16, and this one is 9/32, which is right on the line. So by the time September rolls around, about 5 months from now, at least time of this video, you know, a little bit more would have worn off. It would have been at the replacement point, I'm sure, or so damn close the inspector would have called it. I would. You know, this is not about the shop making money. That inspector is not going to lose his license over something as silly as this. So anyway, okay, parts are here. Let's see what we got. First we'll look at the rotor. Alright, that looks to be correct and acceptable. Nice finish. Well, looks like they don't oil them up like they used to, which is fine. Alright, let's look in the pads and see what came in the box. And just as I suspected, notice how the pads do not have any hardware. I think I might have mentioned that earlier, so we'll have to deal with that. First, let's look at the thickness differences. Here's the used one, 3/16 of an inch or 4.68 millimeters. And that's kind of an average. I did overall measurements, so let me do overall measurements on these. Alright, well, the math says that the pads have lost 60% of their friction material, so there's still 40% there. So, if we do a two-dimensional view here, well, we can definitely see the line is completely gone. So, anyway, and of course when it's on the car you really can't tell. Usually this chamfer here, when that goes away, usually that means your pads are pretty much worn, which seems to be about right. But you can see the line, definitely gone there. Alright, let's install them. So the anti-rattle clips, or the shields, or whatever you want to call them, before I put them on here, there was some goop on here. I cleaned it up. I'm going to put just a little bit of goop. There wasn't much on there at all. And stick it on there, so let me do that. I'm going to use the high heat red. That's what I got. Alright, I'll finish putting these on. Okay, I have my clips. They're going to go on the top. So we'll just top these guys out here. Actually, yeah, that's right. Alright, now let me show you how the clips go on. They go on like this. So here is the wear material, the braking pad, the pad material. This is the back plate, and then it clips down on top so that it comes over and this piece kind of hangs in there. It's going to be touching the guides when it's in place. You'll see. So again, here's the piston side, here's the caliper side. This is going to stick out. The round part is going to stick out. So we'll just kind of lock it down in place like that. Oh, and it goes on the top side. See these little yellow marks from the factory? So this is going to be the top, and that's going to be the bottom. Alright, next we'll put the clips on, and they go like this. The long piece goes in front. It's open. The open end goes to the open end. So they'll go in there like this. Typically you don't reuse these, but I always have with Toyota, and I don't even remember seeing them to purchase. So anyway, whatever. Here is the other side. That'll go on there. And this is going to be the piston side. This is going to be the gripping side. So typically I really don't pre-install these, but I'm going to do that for this video here. Okay, so here's the right side assembled. That's the outside. That's the inside. Clip on top. Clip on top. Shims properly installed. And for the driver's side, the left side, piston on the inside, caliper on the outside there, clips on top, all set to go. Okay, I'm gonna clean up the rotor a little bit because I noticed the backside had a little bit of not pretty on it. So I'm just taking some alcohol. I'm not even using brake cleaner. Just get some alcohol, wipe it off. No big deal. All right, two things on the rotor I wanted to point out. The removal holes, your assisted holes. Unlike the back, the front hub doesn't have any holes in them, so it doesn't really matter how you orient the rotor because it's always going to be something solid behind here. So when you put it on and then need to take it off years from now, you'll be able to use that. Also, notice that it's chamfered right here, so it's not flat the entire thickness, which makes it easier to get off, so there's less surface area should it rust up on the hub. So we'll just put this on. Like that. I'm going to put a lug nut on here. I don't even know if it'll bottom out, go on all the way. Oh, it will. Alright, so I can hold it. I really didn't clean up the caliper too much. You know, whatever. Alright, let's see how much I can get in the way of the camera here. Put on the caliper mounting bracket. See if I can get a bolt started here. That wasn't too bad. Bottom one. Not bad. Put the pads onto the rotor there. And get my torque wrench, see what that was. Alright, it was 80 foot-pounds for the mounting bracket bolts. So let me do that. Technically it was 79. But anyway, see if I can put a click on it. Alright. Alright, now the caliper. Very important, make sure your hose is running correctly. It's not twisted around, it's not catching on anything, that it is routed correctly. I don't know if you can see it, front says 25 foot-pounds. Oh, need a socket. Let's see if I can get this to click here. It looks like my hand's gonna be in the way. Oops. There we go. Bottom one's easier. Oh, it's spinning. I need a wrench for that. Okay, I had to go to my Mercedes-Benz spark plug wrench. That's right. It fits on there fairly well. It's thin enough to work. Where a standard 17 millimeter, all the 17s that I have are too thick. They sort of start to bite on there, but then when I go to torque it down, it doesn't click. It spins. And I have some little metal ones, you know, that I've saved from furniture. You know, when you buy furniture, they give you these, you know, crappy wrenches. Well, those were all too small. I needed 17 millimeter. All right, so let's torque the bottom one down here. All right. Click, click. Alright, I'll get my jack stand out and make sure that I have enough clearance for the wheel to go back on. 76. All right, let's put this on the ground here. And 76. All right, do the right side, pump the brakes, make sure they go solid, check the fluid level, and go for a test drive.